The underestimated world. The Zephyrian Empire stretched across the galaxy like a golden web, its influence touching every corner of known space. For 3,000 years, the empire had grown from a single star system to a civilization that controlled over 40,000 worlds. Their ships were massive monuments to power, each one capable of glassing a planet's surface in minutes. Their technology was ancient, refined, and seemingly unstoppable. In the grand halls of the imperial capital on Zephyr Prime, holographic displays showed the empire's vast territory. Millions of species bowed to Zephyrian rule, paying tribute in resources, technology, and lives. The empire had perfected the art of domination through overwhelming force and technological superiority. No one questioned their authority because no one could match their power. 50 years ago, Imperial scouts had discovered a small blue planet in an unremarkable star system on the galaxy's outer rim. The world was inhabited by a species that called themselves humans. The initial report was filed under primitive civilizations, monitor only. Earth's technology was laughably outdated by Imperial standards. Their fastest ships couldn't even achieve proper faster-than-light travel. Their weapons were crude projectile systems and basic energy weapons. Their society was fragmented into hundreds of different nations that seemed to spend more time fighting each other than advancing their civilization. Emperor Valdris himself had reviewed the Earth file and dismissed it with a wave of his scaled hand. Another primitive species that will take centuries to become even mildly interesting, he had declared. Continue monitoring, but don't waste resources on them. The Empire's attitude toward Earth became the standard throughout the galaxy. At galactic councils, where thousands of species gathered to pay homage to the Empire, human representatives were seated in the back rows with other developing civilizations. When humans spoke, which was rare, other species would exchange amused glances. The humans' proposals for technological exchanges were politely ignored. Their questions about joining galactic trade networks were met with condescending smiles. "Give it another 500 years," was the common refrain among Imperial officials. "Maybe then they'll be worth our time." But the Empire's scouts had made a critical error in their assessment. They had observed Earth's public technology, its military displays, and its international politics. They had completely missed the secret installations buried deep beneath Earth's ocean floors, hidden in asteroid mining operations, and disguised as research stations throughout the solar system. Captain Elena Vasquez stood in one such hidden facility, buried 2 kilometers beneath the Pacific Ocean. The woman was in her 40s, with graying hair and eyes that had seen too many sleepless nights. Around her, the most brilliant minds humanity had ever produced worked in absolute secrecy on Project Phoenix. The facility hummed with activity as engineers, scientists, and military strategists collaborated on humanity's greatest undertaking. "Status report," Elena called out as she walked through the main laboratory. The space was vast, filled with holographic displays, advanced manufacturing systems, and prototype technologies that would have shocked the Empire's scientists. Dr. James Chen, the project's lead scientist, looked up from a quantum resonance chamber. "We've achieved stable fold space generation, Captain. The Prometheus can now bend space-time around itself without destabilizing the local gravity field." Elena nodded, feeling a mix of pride and apprehension. The Prometheus was humanity's answer to Imperial supremacy. Unlike the Empire's massive, lumbering warships, the Prometheus was sleek, fast, and built around technologies the Empire had never encountered. Human scientists had taken a completely different approach to space warfare, focusing on mobility, adaptability, and precision rather than overwhelming firepower. "And the AI core?" Elena asked. "Marcus is operating at full capacity," replied Dr. Sarah Kim, the project's AI specialist. "He's processed every piece of Imperial military data we've managed to acquire over the past 30 years. His tactical predictions are impressive." Marcus was more than just an artificial intelligence. He was a quantum consciousness capable of making millions of calculations per second, adapting to new situations instantly and learning from every engagement. The Empire's ships relied on organic crews and ancient computer systems. They had never faced an opponent guided by true artificial intelligence. The irony wasn't lost on Elena. The Empire considered humans primitive because they hadn't developed certain technologies, but humanity had instead focused on areas the Empire had never explored. While the Zephyrians built bigger guns and thicker armor, humans had developed quantum manipulation, adaptive AI systems, and space-folding technologies that made traditional concepts of distance and time irrelevant. "Captain," came a voice from the communication station. "We're receiving reports from our deep space monitoring stations. Imperial ships have been spotted near the Jupiter system." Elena's expression hardened. For months, there had been signs that the Empire was growing concerned about Earth. Human merchant ships had been stopped and searched more frequently. Imperial surveillance drones had been detected in the outer solar system. It seemed the Empire was finally paying attention to humanity, but not in the way humans had hoped. "How many ships?" Elena asked. 12 confirmed contacts. Dreadnought-class vessels with escort frigates. Admiral Korath's personal fleet. Elena recognized the name. Admiral Korath was one of the Empire's most experienced military commanders, responsible for crushing rebellions on dozens of worlds. If the Empire had sent him, they weren't just conducting a routine inspection. They were sending a message. The main holographic display activated, showing Elena a real-time view of Earth's solar system. The Imperial fleet moved with arrogant confidence toward the inner planets, their massive ships dwarfing everything else in space. Each Imperial dreadnought was over 3 kilometers long, bristling with weapons capable of destroying cities. Their escort frigates were larger than Earth's biggest warships. "They're heading for the Mars colonies," Dr. Chen observed. "Population: 2 million civilians." Elena closed her eyes for a moment, feeling the weight of responsibility. The Mars colonies were humanity's pride, a testament to human determination and ingenuity. They were also completely defenseless against an Imperial fleet. "Send the evacuation signal to Mars," Elena ordered. "Tell them it's a level 1 emergency." "Captain," Dr. Kim said quietly, "are we really going to do this? Fight the Empire with a single ship?" Elena looked around the room at the men and women who had spent decades preparing for this moment. They had worked in secret, sacrificing everything to give humanity a chance against impossible odds. The Prometheus represented not just advanced technology, but the combined hopes and dreams of an entire species. "The Empire thinks we're primitive," Elena said, her voice steady. "They think our technology is crude, our tactics predictable, our spirit broken. They've made the same mistake that powerful civilizations have made throughout history. They'd forgotten that the most dangerous opponent is the one you underestimate." She walked to the central command console, placing her hand on the biometric scanner. "Initiate Phoenix Protocol. Prepare the Prometheus for launch." Alarms began sounding throughout the facility as systems that had been tested hundreds of times finally activated for real. The Prometheus, hidden in a specially constructed dock, began its pre-flight sequence. The ship was beautiful in its simplicity, a sleek, predatory form that seemed to cut through space itself. It was only 800 meters long, tiny compared to Imperial warships, but it represented the pinnacle of human engineering. "Marcus, are you ready?" Elena asked as she strapped herself into the captain's chair. "I have been ready for 847 days, 13 hours, and 22 minutes, Captain." The AI responded in a voice that managed to sound both perfectly calm and eager for action. "I have run 2.3 million combat simulations against Imperial fleet configurations. I am looking forward to practical application." Elena couldn't help but smile. Even their AI had developed a distinctly human sense of anticipation. "All stations report ready," called out Lieutenant Commander Torres from the navigation station. "Fold space drive is online. Quantum shielding is active. Adaptive weapon systems are armed and ready." Then let's go show the galaxy what humans are really capable of, Elena said. Launch the Prometheus. The ship rose from its hidden dock, water cascading from its hull as it emerged from the ocean depths. For a moment, it hung in Earth's atmosphere like a silver dart, then space itself seemed to fold around it. In an instant that defied physics, the Prometheus crossed the distance between Earth and Mars, appearing near the red planet just as the Imperial fleet began its final approach. Admiral Korath stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Eternal Dominion, reviewing the intelligence reports on human civilization. The files made for amusing reading. Humans still used chemical rockets for most of their space travel. Their largest warships were primitive affairs barely capable of operating beyond their own star system. Their weapons technology was centuries behind Imperial standards. Admiral, his tactical officer reported, we're detecting an unknown contact near Mars. It appears to be a human vessel, but it's unusual. Korath looked at the tactical display with mild interest. A single human ship against 12 Imperial warships. It was almost insulting. What's unusual about it? Sir, it appeared instantaneously. Our sensors didn't detect it approaching. It's as if it just materialized. Korath frowned. That was impossible. Even the Empire's most advanced ships couldn't teleport across space. Sensor malfunction. Run a full diagnostic. Sir, diagnostics are clean. The ship is definitely there, and our sensors show it just appeared from nowhere. For the first time in decades, Admiral Korath felt a flicker of uncertainty. He had conquered hundreds of worlds, defeated countless species, and never encountered technology that could surprise him. But something about this situation felt different. Open a channel to the human vessel, he ordered. Let's see what they want. The reckoning. The communication channel crackled to life, and Admiral Korath's voice filled the bridge of the Prometheus. His tone carried the arrogance of someone accustomed to absolute authority. Human vessel, you are in violation of Imperial space. Withdraw immediately or face the consequences. This is your only warning. Elena looked at her crew, seeing determination in their eyes. These men and women had trained for this moment their entire careers. They represented not just Earth, but every species the Empire had conquered or dismissed. Admiral Korath, Elena replied, her voice calm and professional. This is Captain Elena Vasquez of the Earth ship Prometheus. You are threatening civilian colonies in our home system. Withdraw your fleet, and we can discuss this diplomatically. Korath's laughter boomed through the speakers. Discuss. With primitives who barely understand faster than light travel. You have one ship, human. I have 12. Your bravery is admirable but foolish. Numbers aren't everything, Admiral, Elena said quietly. Marcus, begin tactical analysis. The AI's response was immediate. Analysis complete, Captain. Imperial fleet formation is standard Zephyrian battle configuration Theta 7. Their ships are positioned for overwhelming frontal assault, with no consideration for adaptive tactics. They are predictable. Elena smiled grimly. The Empire's greatest strength was also its greatest weakness. 3,000 years of unchallenged dominance had made them complacent. They fought the same way against every opponent because they had never needed to adapt. Admiral, Elena broadcast, last chance. Leave this system now. Enough of this, Korath snarled. All ships target the human vessel. Show these primitives what happens when they challenge the Empire. The Imperial fleet opened fire simultaneously. 12 massive warships unleashed enough firepower to crack a moon. Energy beams, plasma torpedoes, and graviton missiles converged on the Prometheus's position. But the Prometheus wasn't there anymore. Fold space jump complete, reported Torres. We're now positioned above the Imperial formation. The Prometheus had literally folded space around itself, moving instantaneously to a new position. The Imperial weapons struck empty space, while the human ship appeared exactly where it needed to be. How is that possible? Korath demanded, staring at his tactical displays in disbelief. Marcus answered before Elena could speak, broadcasting on all Imperial frequencies. Your species focused on building bigger weapons, Admiral. Ours focused on rewriting the laws of physics. Shall I demonstrate the difference? The Prometheus opened fire, but not with conventional weapons. Instead of trying to match the Empire's raw firepower, human engineers had developed something entirely different: adaptive quantum disruptors. These weapons didn't just damage enemy ships. They learned from each shot, adapting to overcome whatever defenses they encountered. The first quantum pulse struck the Imperial flagship's shields. The shields held as expected. The second pulse adapted, finding weak points in the shield harmonics. The third pulse slipped through the shields entirely, striking the ship's hull. But instead of trying to destroy the massive dreadnought, the quantum disruptor did something far more elegant. It began systematically shutting down the ship's systems, starting with weapons and propulsion. Within seconds, the Eternal Dominion was drifting powerless in space. "Impossible," Korath whispered. "Our shields are impenetrable. Our systems are hardened against all known attacks." "Against all known attacks, yes," Elena agreed. "But we didn't use any known attacks. Admiral, your empire has grown stagnant. You've been using the same technology, the same tactics, the same thinking for centuries. You've forgotten how to innovate." The remaining 11 Imperial ships tried to surround the Prometheus, but the human ship simply folded space again, appearing behind them. Marcus had analyzed their movement patterns and predicted their tactics with perfect accuracy. Every move the Imperial fleet made had been anticipated and countered before they even made it. One by one, the Imperial warships found themselves disabled. The Prometheus moved like a ghost, appearing and disappearing at will, striking with surgical precision. The humans didn't destroy the Imperial ships. They didn't need to. They simply removed their ability to fight back. "This isn't possible," Admiral Korath kept repeating as he watched his fleet being systematically neutralized by a single human vessel. "We are the Empire. We are supreme. We cannot be defeated by primitives." "You're not being defeated by primitives, Admiral," Elena replied. "You're being defeated by your own arrogance. For 50 years, you've dismissed humanity as backward and irrelevant. In that time, we've been preparing. We've been innovating. We've been evolving." The last Imperial escort frigate went dark, its systems shut down by quantum disruptors. In less than 10 minutes, an entire Imperial fleet had been neutralized without a single ship being destroyed. It was a demonstration of technological superiority, unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. "Your crews are unharmed," Elena continued. "Your ships can be repaired, but your message has been delivered, and now I'll deliver ours." The Prometheus moved to a position where all Imperial ships could see it clearly. Then, something impossible happened. The single human ship began to replicate itself. One became 2, then 4, then 8. Within minutes, dozens of identical ships surrounded the disabled Imperial fleet. Holographic projection combined with quantum field manipulation, Elena explained calmly. "We wanted to make sure you understood the message clearly. This was one ship, Admiral. One of many. Earth isn't the primitive world you thought it was." Admiral Korath stared at the display, finally understanding the full scope of his mistake. Humanity hadn't been stagnating for 50 years. They had been preparing. While the Empire grew complacent, humans had been developing technologies that made Imperial science look ancient. What do you want?" Korath asked, his voice hollow. "Peace," Elena replied simply. "We want to be left alone to develop and grow. We want the galaxy to know that Earth is under our protection, and we want other species to know that the Empire can be challenged." The holographic ships began to fade, leaving only the real Prometheus. But the message was clear. Humanity had the technology to project force anywhere in the galaxy, and the Empire could no longer ignore them. "Your ship's communication systems are still functional," Elena noted. "I suggest you report back to your superiors." Tell them exactly what happened here. Tell them that humanity is no longer a primitive species to be dismissed. As the Imperial fleet began emergency repairs, word of the engagement spread across the galaxy with impossible speed. Within hours, every species under Imperial rule had heard the news. The invincible Empire had been defeated by a single ship from a world they had dismissed as backward. On 1,000 worlds, oppressed peoples looked up at the stars with new hope. Resistance movements that had been crushed by Imperial might began to reorganize. Species that had accepted their subjugation as permanent started to dream of freedom. The Prometheus returned to Earth as quietly as it had left, slipping back into its hidden dock beneath the Pacific Ocean. But the galaxy had been changed forever. The myth of Imperial invincibility was broken, and nothing would ever be the same. Elena stood in the Prometheus's bridge, looking out at the stars through the ship's quantum viewport. She knew this was just the beginning. The Empire would not accept this humiliation quietly. They would come back with bigger fleets, better weapons, and renewed determination. But humanity would be ready. They had spent 50 years preparing for this moment, and they would spend the next 50 preparing for whatever came next. The Empire had made a fatal error in underestimating humanity, and that mistake would echo across the galaxy for generations to come. "Marcus," Elena said quietly, "begin analysis of Imperial fleet movements throughout the galaxy. I want to know where they're vulnerable." "Already begun, Captain," the AI replied. "I have identified 347 potential targets and begun developing tactical scenarios. Shall I also begin designing new ship configurations?" Elena smiled. Humanity had announced its presence to the galaxy, but they were far from finished. The Empire had laughed at Earth's prototypes, dismissed human ingenuity, and ignored the potential of a species that refused to give up. Now the galaxy would learn what happened when you underestimated humanity. The age of unchallenged Imperial dominance was over, and the age of human innovation had begun. In the depths of space, other species watched and waited, wondering if the impossible had finally happened. Had someone finally found a way to challenge the Empire? Had the galaxy's most powerful civilization finally met its match? The answer came in the form of a simple message broadcast from Earth to every inhabited world in the galaxy. Humanity has risen. The stars belong to all of us now. The Empire had laughed at Earth's prototypes. They weren't laughing anymore.